Welcome, one and all, to the Magic Music Podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Matthew, and in this series, we will be discussing various occult and esoteric practices in music, art, and culture. So sit back, relax, and let's explore the unknown together. Enjoy. And the burning bush is interesting because I was watching Joe Rogan the other day and he mentioned something about the acacia bush and how it, they find like DMT in that plant, which is pretty crazy, so if they were able to find a way to extract something from that plant and use it for something that was going to make them trip out. And then Moses had was seeing this thing on fire maybe, or he described it in a different way, maybe sparkling or something. It's very interesting. So skulls or skeletons, shadow meaning is fear of death and endings, which is extremely common. I think, people want to stay alive for as long as they can, if they're having a good life. But if they're having a bad life, then it's like, well, what's the point? You want to be having the best life possible. The spiritual meaning, skeletons, is transformation, letting go of the ego, and ancestral communication. So transformation is a big thing. You can either grow or diminish. And sometimes you go back and forth. You grow in a career, but you don't have a family, so you feel diminished. And then you don't want to sacrifice your career and you don't want to start a family. Let's say it's a man who's, making a lot of money and just wants to have fun. Maybe he'll make a lot of money and then get married later in life, but might be a little lonely, when he's younger. But he's just focusing on getting money. That's his desire. That's his will. His will is to gain wealth. Maybe he's very knowledgeable at one subject, who knows? But he's using that knowledge and he's just taking it and being like, okay, this is capitalism. This is the world that we live in, at least in America. Which I'm not for or against it. It's how the way things work. And, humanity has its flaws, for sure. But, we just have to keep on trucking through and just be the best people that we can be. And then, letting go of the ego is tough for some people. They're really holding on to it as tight as they can. And then if it dissolves away, imagine it dissolving away, it puts you back in your place. It humbles you. It really does. Once the ego is dissolved, whether that's, through meditation or just personal will, just thinking about it, or psychedelic drugs, it's really an experience like no other. You feel more, you don't feel as constrained in your body. And then the ancestral communication, with relatives or people that you haven't even met that have your DNA, which is insane. In many traditions, death in dreams means change, but not actual death. I think dreams prepare you for death. I think they prepare you for death. Nodding out every night, that feeling of kind of just going somewhere, which, I have no idea where. Eyes, the shadow meaning is paranoia, being watched. Like that one song. Spiritual meaning, inner vision, third eye awakening, divine perception. So yeah, when you get messages, and I'm going to quote Frank Herbert in the first part of the new Dune movie with Timothée Chalamet, which is amazing, by the way. I love that movie so much. It's so good. I saw part 1 and part 2. It opens up in part 1. It says, dreams are messages from the deep. Yeah, the deep. What is the deep? What does it mean? Is it a place? Is it a feeling? I think it's whatever you think it is and how it helps you. Recurring eye might mean your intuition is trying to get your attention. Yeah, intuition, it's just kind of, if you have a feeling about somebody or something, it's like your body's like warning system in a way, which before we evolved into humans, I think it's still this biological thing in us where it's like fight or flight. There's something else out there that's trying to pull you somewhere, good or bad. Pyramids or triangles, it's a symbol of spiritual ascent, balance of mind, body, spirit, ancient wisdom. A triangle pointing up equals aspiration, pointing down equals grounding or feminine energy. That's pretty interesting. The mind, body, and the spirit, yeah. Like the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, the Holy Trinity is prevalent, throughout time. And I believe that. You have a physical body, you have the mind, and you have this other realm, this other thing that drives like cells to divide. Like, where does that force, that initial spark come from? It's like, that's life. It's just like a spark. Like you're just doing things. You're trying to be creative. You're trying to give yourself a sense of purpose, and everyone needs a sense of purpose if you're going to have a functioning society, and one that works pretty well. Everyone needs a purpose, whether that's a job or loving somebody or an animal or a thing, like writing or recording a song or a podcast. Spiders or webs, the shadow meaning is manipulation or feeling trapped. Like a fly does, man. Imagine the fear that's going through that fly's mind of like, oh man, like this is it. This is the end, And like you can kind of like, make an AI video from that perspective, but you can have a dream about that too. Spiders, if you're like terrified of them. When I was outside earlier, I saw like a bunch of small spiders, but they don't bother me. Unless it's like a really big insect like a digger bee, and those things are huge. Those things are massive. Spiritual meaning, creation, weaving fate, feminine archetypal energy with think Arcne or the fates. Okay. Seeing yourself in a web could mean you're caught in karmic or spiritual patterns. Like you're wrapped up in this burrito, this never-ending burrito that you're like rolled up in. It's a cycle. The Ouroboros. The Ouroboros is just the cycle of life. A snake eating its own tail, which I love that symbol. It's a very powerful symbol. The moon. It's a symbol of intuition, cycles, the hidden feminine energy. A full moon could mean you're in a time of emotional or psychic fullness. Yeah, I guess depending on the phase, as well. Crescent moon. Crescent moon often hints at something growing in the spiritual realm. That's pretty fascinating. Yeah, it's like, going from a crescent to a full moon, this like growth and like this breathing, this in and out, the tides. It's basically what it is. It's like tides going in and out. It shifts with the moon and the phases, which is, it's strange when you think about it like that, right? That the moon apparently controls the tides. So birds, especially blackbirds or owls, the shadow meaning is omen, message from the underworld. I saw a crow the other day, and I was like, I have to be careful driving. And as I was driving home from work, my first thought was like, okay, that's weird. Just a single crow, and like crows are usually bad luck, right? So like, you have to be extra careful driving, just because, you never know. So I'm driving, and then this guy is like zooming up behind me and like has to like pass me or something. He was going pretty fast. So it might have been warning me about that, honestly, like seeing that happen, and like I had enough time to like swerve out of the way if I needed to. So maybe it was a sign. I have no idea. Spiritual meaning, freedom, transcendence, messenger from the spirit world. So something coming to you, a liaison, a messenger delivering something to you of vast importance that you can either take or not, but you probably should, because it'd probably be rude to like not accept that message, or like it can be knocking on your door consistently, like you know, like you have to like open the door at some point. Owls especially signify hidden knowledge or witchy intuition. Yeah, there's something about, the owls. Like, people worship this, like an owl god or something called, like, Moloch, I think. I'm not sure if that's right, but it's this massive owl god, and it's like, people worship this thing. Like, politicians and, like, apparently, like, world leaders and stuff. So maybe they know something that we don't, about owls and all that stuff, man. Or maybe it's symbolic for something else, like another deity. But, who knows? I've never been to one of those ceremonies before. Doors and keys. So a symbol of transition, initiation, unlocking spiritual insight. So it's moving from one thing to another, Like you've accessed this thing by like maybe doing good deeds, or like you gave out or volunteered at like a soup kitchen, or like you gave out food to the homeless. Like maybe something, if you did something positive, it's going to open a door. Like you found the right like key or skeleton key. I think the masters maybe have like just a skeleton key, like a spiritual skeleton. It's hard to say. A spiritual skeleton key to unlock so many doors in their minds that can lead them to different avenues and different paths, if they really put their mind to it. And dreaming of a locked door may mean you're resisting an opportunity. A key suggests you're ready. So that key, symbolically, is you moving towards something greater, and hopefully something more positive. Water, so oceans, floods, rain. The shadow meaning is overwhelm, emotional chaos, getting hit by a wave of stress, sadness, anger, envy, gluttony, things like that. Just emotions, like being so overrun that you can't control it, that it's continuously like being pumped into you from somewhere. The spiritual meaning is emotional healing, subconscious energy, and deep inner truths. Yeah, so emotional healing, like being overwhelmed by something. Because if you suppress something, it's going to come back to haunt you in different forms. It's happened to me. So calm water is equivalent to peace. Stormy water is equivalent to not facing something emotional that you're trying to repress. That's why therapy is good. Therapy is good for people. Witches, shamans, or mysterious figures. It's a symbol of your inner mystic, a guide, or a challenge. So something that's maybe your future self, or something that's like your essence, and you are like guiding yourself along to this path of glory and truth. Maybe if they're helping you, trust the path. But if they're threatening, it may be time for shadow work, which means like if something is like, hey, come here, like I'm going to expose you to all this stuff that's going to harm you. It's like drinking a poison. You're intentionally doing it. You can't really help that, if you go with a positive entity or a negative entity. There's two paths you can take. There's like one option and there's another option. There's really nothing in between. Either like good or bad, or it can start out good and maybe like be misleading you into something. A wool in sheep's clothing, if you will. Let's see. So, and then bonus numbers. So 3 is the Trinity. Body, mind, and spirit. or manifestation. So think of a triangle. Think of, 3 intersecting circles, like a Venn diagram or something. It represents the union, the perfect union of those 3 things of mind, or body, mind, and spirit. And if you focus on each one and you can get, better at doing those things, you can work out, you can make your body stronger. But you can be strong and have an unhealthy mind, and vice versa. You can be brilliant but have an unhealthy body. The spirit, like, different things can take a hold of you, and you can manipulate the spirit world, and the spirit world can manipulate you. So 7 is a sacred number. It's, revolves around mystery and initiation into something. So, a lot of bands actually use, 7-4-7-8 time signature, and that's like, counting instead of like, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you go back to 1. There's a lot of songs that utilize that. We'll talk about, the band Tool a lot, because they have a lot of not, like 4-on-the-4 type beats. They use, a bunch of, they're into numerology and stuff, and, the way they change time signatures is really, it's like effortless, but it's not easy. I'm sure they have to think a lot, and then you keep on doing it, and then you end up like perfecting this thing. But it's still challenging, right? Like having all these different parts going at the same time, or people playing in different time signatures. Like their drummer Danny Carey is playing in, some odd time signature, and then Adam's doing something and Justin's doing something else, and Maynard's singing, either a counter melody over that or just doing what Maynard does. So, yeah, 7 is definitely an odd number. I think 7 it's funny because I was born in July, which is the 7th month. So that has a deeper connection to me as well, but also being like a Leo, which I don't know, like, I don't know if that's the right sign for me, to be honest with you. I don't feel like a Leo. I'm not really that like super outgoing. Like I am sometimes. I don't really like big crowds. I like smaller get-togethers, more intimate settings. I feel like it's just more fun. You can just talk about more genuine stuff as opposed to larger crowds. I feel like, you're like scraping the bottom for like, you're like, oh yeah, like the weather's great. And you're like, hey, do you believe in aliens? Like, it's like, you can talk about that stuff with smaller groups of people. I feel like, so, bigger groups, they might be like, no, like, they're like, no, I believe in something else. And then you get into an argument, not that I do, but some people might. The number 13 is equivalent with transformation, rebirth, breaking convention. And it's very sacred in some magical circles. Yeah, that's very interesting. So I think we're going to stop there. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope you guys have a great week, and peace and love. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.